Hey there, I'm Anthony Romano, and this is a quick video on some fasted workout tips. So basically, trying to make this one quick and making it just a series of tactics you can use if you are maybe new to intermittent fasting, maybe you're new to prolonged fasting. Either way, the tips are going to be relatively the same, and I'm going to tell you what to do exactly before your workout so that you know how to get a better fasted workout. And maybe you're crashing, maybe you're not enjoying the feeling currently of how it feels to work out when you're fasted, but this video is going to change that. Before we get into it, Keto Shred program on my website, romanoketo.com. Check it out. Thank you for all the support, for all the best fat loss strategies specifically for keto if you're interested in that. Let's get into this video. So, what are the best fasted workout hacks? Okay, well, for starters, you're going to need adequate sodium and adequate potassium. These are your electrolytes, well, there are two of them, and basically those are the most commonly depleted ones while you're exercising fasted. And of course, you're going to lose magnesium. That's probably the next best one to start supplementing with if you are doing a lot of intermittent fasting or prolonged fasting. But either way, if you're somebody who's having a hard time working out, it's usually because of blood sugar. So what happens is when you are fasting for an extended period of time and not eating anything, your body's blood sugar is basically going to drop because you haven't ate anything. So what you have to do to remedy that is you have to find some other blood sugar control substitute or something like that, because your blood sugar is not going to improve overnight. It takes time, and there's long-term markers you can get on a blood test, such as HbA1c, hemoglobin A1c, which basically are your long-term blood sugar measurement. And that will give you an indication that if it's too high, that's the reason why you have a hard time not, being hungry all the time. So, and also having energy drops at the same time. So, the way you can manage this to get a little bit more blood sugar control is to fast and then have a shot of apple cider vinegar. So I have an entire video on this. You don't want to sip it, okay? It's going to ruin your teeth even if you use a straw. But if you use a tablespoon or two of this, it's going to result in a dramatically better blood sugar response. And basically, you're not going to use excess glucose where it isn't needed. So you're only going to use as much as needed, and this dramatically drops the blood sugar spike you might get. So apple cider vinegar is one after the sodium and potassium. The dosing for sodium and potassium is basically, if you're intermittent fasting, so less than a day, you want to keep it very conservative. So I recommend about a quarter teaspoon of each, sodium and potassium chloride. So potassium in the salt form. I have a link down below. Not in capsules. That can ruin, your stomach and basically give you ulcers. So don't do it. Okay, use chloride. And if you're fasting for longer than a day, you want to use about a whole teaspoon or half to a whole teaspoon of sodium and potassium. That's something that's a little bit more nuanced depending on how long you're fasting, right? So I'm not sure exactly what you plan to do, but anytime you go longer than a day, you're going to need more than a half teaspoon. You're going to need at least 5,000 milligrams of sodium and potassium a day. And if you're exercising, anywhere up to 8,000. But you want to spread this out, because if you have too much at once, you're going to shit yourself. So don't do it. And basically, the sodium and potassium tie into the blood sugar as well, because if you are depleted of electrolytes, your body's going to crank up insulin to make you hang on to more water. This is going to make you more hungry, and it's going to basically diminish some of the benefits of the fast. So sodium, potassium, perhaps some magnesium, but I recommend putting that at the end of the day, because realistically, if you have too much electrolyte at once, you are going to shit yourself. And if you are about to work out, you mainly want the sodium and potassium first, because they make up the intracellular pump within your muscles. So you need to get those in first, and if you are lowering that dose just to throw in some magnesium, you might get less of an effective workout. So put the magnesium at the end of the night. I recommend 3 and 8 form, glycinate, bisglycinate, and those are basically the best forms of magnesium as far as bioavailability of magnesium go. Now, there's a lot of other forms of magnesium. Some of them are more beneficial for digestion, a lot of other things. That's not the topic of this video. The topic of this video is getting swole while fasting and working out. So those are the tips as far as electrolytes go. You can also get pre-made electrolytes, of which I do have some linked in the description. But we're starting off blood sugar control and hydration. Okay, if you don't have enough electrolyte, you're not going to be able to send the electrical signals to your muscle tissues to activate. Now I'm going to end off with some other tips about stimulants here. A lot of people are going to be relying on caffeine, coffee, pre-workouts, and other stimulants, And one thing you have to be aware of is that stimulants will dehydrate you because they are oftentimes diuretics. Caffeine is a diuretic, and basically a lot of other common stimulants are diuretics. You know, people use ephedra, people use yohimbine, a lot of other things have this diuretic effect, and that makes you lose water. And if we already know one of the roots of the problems for crappy fasted workouts is lack of hydration, then you're going to need to not necessarily up the dose, because again, if you throw in a bunch of diuretics and too much electrolyte, you're going to shit yourself even harder. Anyways, and basically, you're going to need to compensate for that with your water intake. Okay, you need to get adequate water as well, but the electrolytes will help you hang on to that water and put it where it needs to go and use it properly. So, when we're looking at the usage of these stimulants and these pre-workouts, keep the dose moderate to low, because you want to get your body not reliant on, you know, external sources for energy. And the whole benefit of fasting, after you get good at it, is that you get better energy after you can put up with this period of time where your blood sugar is lower and you're basically relying on using more stored fuel rather than, you know, external fuel. So, on that note, if you are somebody who's experiencing some adrenal burnout or reliance on coffee, it's often related to the electrolytes. If you feel ever at any point in the day where you are dizzy after getting up quickly, that is 100% a sign of adrenal fatigue. And that's not really a scientific term because the adrenals don't actually get fatigued. I have videos on this. But basically, that means that your body can't distribute sodium quick enough for you to feel, you know, level-headed. So it also ties into your, you know, adrenals' ability to pump out cortisol properly in response to the right things. But again, doing periods of time where you're giving your kidneys a break, you know, you're giving your digestive system a break, is going to be better for that in the long run. So again, you have to realize that fasting in the long run is a very beneficial health play, and it can correct a lot of other problems you might have. So those are some of the tips right off the bat. Apple cider vinegar, adequate electrolytes, using the protocols suggested here, you know, minimizing reliance on stimulants. And if you do have that reliance on stimulants, just know that one remedy to the solution to the problem is to gradually get better at fasting and minimize the reliance on stimulants, and eventually perhaps use some other adrenal fatigue protocols, which I do have listed in the Keto Shred program. But some of them consist of things like extra vitamin C, because your adrenals and kidneys take up a load of vitamin C every day, and getting perhaps an ashwagandha or something. And, you know, that's another route to go, some adaptogens, but particularly ashwagandha KSM66. Now, that is it for the video. Subscribe, like, and let me know if you like some of these shorter videos. Was this one short? I don't know. Anyways, Anthony Romano, peace.